September of 2022, the OMCs then stopped selling product, and the government had to intervene with the Vice President then. And also they did the same thing again in February and stopped selling and threatened the government. And as a result of that, and also after we received the data from the storage facilities, that is both at Petroleum and GPS, and also after having received information from one of the traders, that is PSTV at the time, about alleged shortage in Petroleum. And they indicated that if this report was true, as traders, we would end up in a scenario where the traders would no longer would have no other choice than to stop all dealings with Petroleum, including HFO, to the country. And also, as I said, explain that because the Malian that were coming here were being extorted by individuals. And after consulting with the authorities, then we drafted a policy dated on the 3rd, just to clarify. The policy was to clarify, to avoid any ambiguity in what was happening on the ground. And the policy, this is what was dated on the 3rd, and it was then issued out to the traders, as you can see, on the 12th of July. When the policy was drafted, it was then presented to the authorities and discussed as an AOB in cabinet. Okay? And then it was then issued to the international traders that are operating, as well as the OMCs, etc. Then as we move on during the year, we then receive concerns from traders about the traders' operations, specifically PSTV, who was bringing product at the terminal, about their operations in the country, and also on the 23rd, one of the traders sent us an email telling us that they were going to pull out of the country and not bring product at the terminal, because it's their prerogative. They have the resources, they have the product. You have a home, and then you make sure if the home is suitable, then they will bring. If the home is not suitable, they will not bring. And as I have explained earlier, the OMCs don't bring the product in this country. The data shows that 94% of the product that is brought from 2018 to 2023 were brought by the traders, only 6% of that, and that 6% relates to, for example, GNPC. Now, then as we move on with these further issues, then we then went to September, and then we, with additional information that we gathered, as explained by the traders, then I issued the policy clarification on the 14th of September. That was the same policy number one, superseding the one in July of 2023, just further clarifying some of the issues. As we moved on, in October, after the convening meetings with the international traders, and also holding meetings with ONCs at the time, and also noting that some of the smaller ONCs were having issues to access product directly from the traders. Then we provided this policy number 2, which made reference to policy number 1 of 14th of September, as provided in paragraph 3. And this policy was merely illustrating the trading that was taking place at the depot level, just defining the limits. And also, what is the point which already existed between the traders and the ONCs, that the ONCs can buy the product and from the terminal go to GRA, because no product can leave the depot without GRA giving you a declaration for tax purposes. Tax purposes in what respect? In respect of the price structure. Because in this country, the ONC or the international trader does not pay levies, tax and duties and VAT on the fuel that is sold. It is the consumer at the pump station who buys the fuel that pays the tax on the liter of the fuel and the levies, as per the price structure determined by the government every month. The ONC merely collects the money and releases it to GRA. The transaction that takes place at the border is entirely between the ONC and the trader. It's a business relationship. And if you, like GNPC, if GNPC is to order a fuel, before the fuel comes in the depot, they pay for it, offshore, into the trader's account. That trader they're dealing with, which is Sahara. But these traders, which is Trafigura, others, PSTV, Apogee, and recently, Dimex, a new trader at the border depot, bring product and store it there and make it accessible for our OMCs who are licensed to pick it from there and sell it within the territory. That is how, and these are the reasons why the policy was developed.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, for that guidance. From your submission, it indicates that initially there was petroleum stockpile in the country in 2021, and then there was an investigation into it. And we didn't request for that investigation report. The clerk will pick it. Clerk, you can pick that report from the Honourable Minister, maybe photocopy and give you the original. And that in September 2022, the ONC stopped selling. And this move was repeated again in February 2023. And then a meeting was convened by the Vice President. And then GNPC was empowered. And there was a policy consultation. And an initial version of it was published in July 2023. And then further clarifications were done in September 2023. And then the finalized version was done on the 30th of October 2023. So, Honourable Minister, we will take this in 3 layers now. One of it would be establish the reasons behind the initial policy document on the 3rd of July, which we will take as the reasons you advanced, part of which are listed earlier on, that is even the international traders were threatening that they started losing confidence in economic tourism, you know, and namely the PSD Acts or Trans-Europe. And it also indicated that the Malian customers were being threatened. So we were like, whether it's your submission that based on those reasons advance, there was a need for a policy clarification. We have additional reasons or submissions if you would like to present to the committee before we move on to the other layers, because we've noted all the reasons that you've advanced. Okay, if that is sufficient, Honorable Minister, we want to know the process is a policy route normally from conceptualization at the ministerial level to approval at cabinet level.
As I said, since my responsibility as a minister, as per the letter, I instate policies for my portfolio. It is my prerogative to seek for data, because it's based on data and market situation, and also, if need be, ask the technical staff, within the ministry for their input. And then once that is done, I will then, it's the route I take. I can go and discuss the matter with the principal, and then if he so endorses, it can be implemented, because he's the appointing authority. Or it is a matter that I can decide to take to cabinet in a substantive cabinet paper, or I decide to put it in as an AOB.
Good. Let's have clarification on this. When you say it's a policy clarification, was it a substantive policy, or what was the ministry trying to establish?
Honorable, as I have explained, since the depot started operation, this is the mode of operation at the depot.
Okay.
And this is how petroleum value chain have existed in this country from the onset.
Okay.
Since the time Mr. Bazi had exclusivity for operation of the depot, he was dealing with traders, and traders would come and dump the product at the depot. This is what has continued. And that at the time, everybody was dealing with him. Come 2018, 2017, you had His Excellency President Barrow. He then removed that exclusivity. And traders continued to bring product at the terminal. Then the OMCs would now buy it from the traders based on their arrangements. Because as I have explained, and we need to understand this, if you have to buy a product, the trader is under no obligation whatsoever to bring product and store it at the terminal.
Yes.
I'm just trying to
lay a foundation.
Yeah, to respond.
Okay.
So there is no obligation from any trader, because these traders are international traders that deals with volumes that are so huge. But because we have a stable system in this country under the leadership of the president, and given that we have the Petroleum Act which came into force in 2016, and a clear regulation, the traders continue to bring the product. So it's an issue of just lifting the product from the traders at that level. And this is what has continued. And this policy was just trying to put in on paper what already exists to remove any possibility of ambiguity so that it is documented.
Okay, so now the clarification we are seeking for is what will be the difference between a policy presented to the cabinet on a substantive motion and one that is presented to the AOA?
Yeah, but as I said, it's up to the issues that are brought as well, it's up to the principal. Because cabinet is chaired by the president. It is up to him. It is up to him. If you say that you raise an issue as an AOB, and then cabinet believes that it is substantive, they will tell you that you have to bring a substantive paper. If cabinet, because at this point in time, it is up to the principal to allow something in cabinet, you know, as an AOB or as a substantive paper.
We will conclude with that, but I will now focus on the policy of the 3rd of July. You did indicate that there were consultations with various stakeholders, not with the conceptualization of the policy itself. Can you tell us who were consulted?
Honorable, as I explained, the consultation was between the traders and also between the data that was provided and also at the staff of the ministry. And also the fact that, as I explained earlier, is what we knew as a matter of fact provided by the data that the claims that the ONCs were making, that they are the ones that are bringing and depositing product at the terminal were not true.
And the staff of the ministry would include the permanent secretary and
the technical staff, deputy permanent secretary, and
the technical staff.
Yes.
Okay. Was there a cabinet paper to this policy?
No, very good. I have already explained to you, and I will further clarify that I don't need a cabinet paper for all cabinet matters.
Okay, so
that is the prerogative of the chairman of cabinet. If I bring something in cabinet as a AOB, and then the cabinet discusses it and agree, that is up to the principal. If the principal decides on that particular issue and say that it has to be a substantive paper, and you have to bring a cabinet paper, I will be advised by the principal accordingly. And furthermore, this particular issue has been discussed with the principal as well as with the vice president at the time, in terms of the preludes to the policy clarification.
Can you tell us when was this policy discussed? The exact date when the policy was discussed in the cabinet?
I think you have to ask the cabinet to give you the specific dates.
No,
the cabinet secretary.
The cabinet secretary.
Yes.
Yes, but in this case, you were the minister who presented the policy.
As an AOB, you know, the cabinet is there, and the cabinet will be in a very good position to tell you exactly the day that it was presented to the cabinet.
No, the issue is we would have to get the information from you, and if the committee have the desire to verify that information, then we will get to the cabinet secretary. But our scope of investigation haven't given us any desire to get to the cabinet secretary. So as such, the committee will be requesting the date that this issue.
With all fairness, I have responded to you that it was presented in the cabinet. I cannot fully remember the date. So you can, to know exactly the date, you know, it's up to the cabinet.
No, that's what I'm saying. We will take it from you.
Okay.
As a fair submission that at this particular moment, you cannot remember the date. But we will tell you to find the date and then inform this committee accordingly. Honorable Minister?
Honorable, I cannot. Cabinet is in cabinet's dealing is something that is secret, and it is up to the cabinet secretary to provide you the date and the outcomes of the discussion in cabinet. I am not in a position to provide you the date and the details of the cabinet. That is, it's a fair assessment.
I will help you here.
Okay.
At the end of every cabinet meeting, there is always a communication from the State House Press Secretary that would indicate the general issues that were presented by the various ministers. The specifics are confidential, but the generalities are never hidden from the public. So, and what the committee is asking for is within your limits, because you were a substantive portfolio holder of the Minister of Petroleum and Energy as at the time this policy was presented to the cabinet. So we'll make a request again that you can provide this committee with the exact date of that. And Honorable Minister, with due respect, that one we will not entertain the debate on it, and it is on.
No, but I cannot give you a date. That's my position.
No, what I'm saying.
You can go to the cabinet. I will not give you a date on the day that I submitted this, discuss this issue as an AOB in the cabinet. I cannot, and I will not.
You cannot, and you will not.
No.
Honorable Minister, I wouldn't like us to conclude on that, because if we should, I would have to present that case to the joint committee to decide. So, for the first time in my campaign line, I will tell you to reconsider that response and give the joint committee an appropriate one. If you do not understand the question, I don't mind repeating it. Because whatever response you give this time, I will subject it to the joint committee and give it the floor to the chair. What we are saying is, we want to know where you presented the policy. It is fair enough that you cannot recall it now. Now, what we are taxing you is to provide this committee with the date, month, and year when this policy document was discussed in cabinet. Can you do that, Honorable Minister?
Honorable, as I explained to you, I presented.
No, can you do that, Honorable Minister? Yes or no?
Right now, I
don't mean right now.
I cannot give you a date that this was presented. I will go to I'll ask the cabinet secretary if he can give me the date. I will take the date and give it to you.
Honorable Minister?
Okay?
Honorable Minister?
Yes.
Can you provide this date to the joint committee within a week?
I will ask the cabinet secretary and get back to you.
No, Honorable Minister, we are not working on global committees here.
Okay.
And that's why we didn't ask you to do anything that is outside the confines of your function. Whatever the joint committee is asking you to do, we know that it's within your limits and you have the power to do it.
Of course.
Okay? That's why we are asking this. This is a yes or no. Where you get the information from, we will leave that to your discussion. But all we need is the information. Can you provide that information to the joint committee within a week? Yes or no, Honorable Minister?
I will ask the cabinet secretary and get back to you.
That's a proper identity. And when it has to be taken on a year-to-year basis. We wouldn't take that. We don't want it to be contingent to the response we receive from the cabinet secretary. Because the cabinet secretary is not in any way a witness before the Senate committee. You are the witness. For the last time when the minister, can you provide that information?
I will get the date from the cabinet secretary report and give it to you.
Chair, the floor is about you. We need a definite answer on that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Honorable Minister, it's a norm, a custom and tradition that the committee can request any documentation relevant to this institution of planning, and then it is based on text. The co-chair is asking you to provide information. Now, we want you to really comply at your utmost best to go back to Cabinet Secretary as the capacity as Minister, and then provide the said dates to ascertain that this policy document has been taken before Cabinet. And you are obliged to submit within a week for us to the Secretariat to receive it. So let's take it based on the 24th, 30th, or the 31st of this month. We want to kindly avail this base. Is that something doable? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, was cabinet approval eventually granted the policy?
Yes, it was at the level of cabinet, yes.
When submitting the date of this presentation, can you equally submit the date of cabinet approval as well? Honorable Minister?
No.
I'm saying when submitting the date of the presentation, equally add the date of cabinet approval to it as well?
Yep.
Yes. Minister, let us look at the policy document itself. And by looking at the policy, it went through the 3 days. The initial version was on July 2023.
Yes.
And then on the 14th of September, on the 30th of October. So, the initial question would be, do we take about the equality? In that case, we will concentrate on the one that was released on the 30th of December, by the 30th of October 2023, to take precedence over the initial communication on the 3rd of July and the 14th of September. Or do we treat them separately?
No, it's just a continuation.
It's just a continuation. Okay. Then, can it also the policy document and its intent as it was provided on the 3rd of July 2023?
Well, as explained, as stated, it's just to encourage the facilitation of access to petroleum products stored at the depot, in the country at the depot. To be able to make sure that the management of the depot is to make available information to licensed parties and non-resident nationals on product availability. So that if people were complaining that no, they don't know who has product in the country, the OMCs, or not. So it was there to just clarify that they need to provide that information to people that need to buy the product. So also, to establish that international traders, they are not required to hold a license, to store product at the terminal. But they will need to also comply with petroleum product laws in respect of the regulation in respect of quality. Because at that level it is the quality, the responsibility of the internal breeding product that complies with the national standards. And also the importation and lifting bias that it clarifies that as per the regulation and as per the law, buyers must have a valid license. And that the promotion of the export trade. It just clarifies how you can re-export product from the country. That's what it, and also that generally, whatever law exists in terms of regulation and law, and they have to comply with those laws with respect to, regulation of processes, with respect to lifting the product going out of the terminal, exporting product out of the country.
The first one, which talked about encouragement and facilitation of access to petroleum products stored in the country at storage terminals. The content read as follows: the management of the terminal is hereby required to make available information of licensed parties and non-resident foreign nationals sourcing petroleum products from the country for export on product availability and ownership, and facilitate direct contact between the entities. This will enable interested buyers to procure products directly from international traders, depositors, once sellers' requirements are fulfilled. Honourable Minister, on the face of this provision, it stands as an operational issue. Am I right in saying that?
No, it's to clarify what is existing in the market.
Yes,
for market clarification.
Yes, but this is an operational issue.
No, it's a policy issue.
When we talk about the terminal in this case, do you mean Ghana Petroleum?
No, this is addressed to both Ghana Petroleum and GPS.
Yes. So in this case, you would say Ghana Petroleum. Because Ghana Petroleum, although it is not a state or an enterprise, but we know that the Ghana government is the one handling the very receivables. So as such, we need to depend on Ghana Petroleum. So now, the terminal means Ghana Petroleum is hereby required to make available information to licensing parties. Licensing parties in this case means both entities. Am I right?
Yes.
Those are the oil companies.
Yes.
And non-resident foreign internationals sourcing petroleum product from the country for export. Yes. This does it mean the Malians?
Yes. Malian or anybody else that lift product from the country to neighboring countries.
Which means we have the storage facilities and the unfair basis with the Ghana Petroleum and TDS. We have the ONCs. Okay? And then we also have the Malians or foreign nationals who will come to the Ghana by petroleum products. And product availability and ownership. Ownership here would mean whether the product is being owned by international traders or the ONCs. Am I right?
No, the product that is at the terminal. Whoever owns it is on the data that the terminal has.
And now we did the oil companies in Canada or the international traders might agree.
As far as I know, Honorable, the product in the terminal might be owned by the international, it is owned predominantly by the ONCs, and also the ONCs that buy from the international traders, and it's in-tank transfer, what's called in-tank transfer. Yes.
Okay. So which means the ownership might be either of these two.
Yes.
Okay. And facilitate direct contact between the entities. When we talk about the entities here, it is the ONCs, the international traders, and the foreign nationals that might come in together and become petroleum.
Yes.
Okay. That Gambia Petroleum need to establish contact between these entities. That in this case, Gambia Petroleum or GPS should make sure that there is contact between the international traders and the ONCs, or between the ONCs and the foreign nationals who might have the desire to talk and buy petroleum products from India. Am I right to say that?
Yes, because the product is there, and at the terminal, so somebody can come. The ONCs don't know who brings the product in the terminal. For example, but they need to have access to the terminal, to the product. So it is to facilitate for them to ensure that the ONC know who has product there.
Perfect. And the Congress Society is able to testify as the product directly from international trade depositors.
Traders through depositors.
Depositors.
Yes.
One seller's requirement are for it. So which means the international traders, it can be Algeria, it can be ADAX, it can be PSTV, it can be Abuli, or any other international trader that might be within the jurisdiction of the Gambia.
It might also be an ONC that brings product and deposit at the terminal.
Perfect.
Yes.
So, what the first paragraph of the policy seeks to do is to foster collaboration among all the stakeholders in the petroleum value chain. Not so.
It says encourage and facilitation of access. Yes.
Okay? That there is contact between them, that there is access to the product, and that adequate information is being given. Madam Minister, is that not the role of government petroleum? Is that not natural responsibility?
Yeah, but we receive information from the traders, from the operators, that they were having problem of access to information.
Yes.
Okay? So we provided this clarification for all traders to be aware that this is access to information about availability of product is something that should be available to all.
Yes. Fair enough, and that is well understood.
Yes.
That's why I asked you.
Yes.
On the fair is that not the natural role of government petroleum?
But my role as the minister is to provide clarity and is to make sure that there is access to information. It may be Gambia Petroleum's natural role, but Gambia Petroleum is licensed by the minister in accordance with the Petroleum Products Act. So it is my responsibility to make sure that all the players, there is clarity and there is access to information. That is what it is trying to identify.
And if the government petroleum were to do this, will it not fall under the operational activities?
No, it's a clear indication that it is to provide access to information.
Yes, but we want to know whose role is it?
In terms of what?
What is being established on face value, on the first provision
Yes.
of the policy? Is to establish that point of access to inform the ONCs, the international buyers or foreign buyers that comes to the Gambia with regards to the availability of petroleum products. And also to establish that linkage between the international traders and the prospective buyers so that they will have direct contact. I might be wrong, I'm leaving anything out with regards to the provision of the first article, that is article number 1, on the policy of government. We will seek for your guidance.
No, I think, Honorable, in all fairness, the article number 1 is very clear. It is to encourage and facilitation of access to product, because Gambia Petroleum's role is to store product. The OMCs or the people that are buying the product don't know who has product in the terminal. So it's as clear as what is it in here.
Yes. And would it not be the responsibility of Gambia Petroleum or GBS in this case to inform the OMCs that product is available?
Yeah, but if, for example, those same people were complaining that they did not have information, about who owns the product and how they can get product, so even if it's their responsibility and they were not informing, the people that are supposed to lift the product, so giving me clarification and then pressing the point in this policy that they have to provide that information. So what's the issue?
I agree. All that we are trying to establish is, does it mean to say both Gambia Petroleum and GBS were not given the right information to A, the international traders, or B, the OMCs, or C, the foreign nationals who were buying the
explain. Honorable, I would not go into that direction. What I know is that the OMCs and Malians came here and they complained about the problems that they were encountering at the terminal. And this was issued to ensure that they were having the terminals can provide necessary information so that those people that are licensed to sell product within the territory have the access to that information to be able to lift the product.
Yes. Honorable Minister, on basis of clarity, the main reason I'm still on article number 1 of the policy is, other questions were posed with regards to the guidelines that govern the petroleum value chain. And the response we gave was that we should ask Gambia Petroleum because they are operational matters. And operational matters are not the domain of the ministry. So if we see operational matters being reflected on the face value of the policy, for reasons of fairness, one wants to ask why.
Honorable, this is not, as far as I'm concerned, this is not an operational matter. This is a matter to provide general guidelines and provide clarity, because the government has a responsibility to ensure the availability of a product at the terminal and then also the availability of a product within the territory of the Gambia, so that people will be able to buy petroleum product.
We did that, and then we move to the second article on the face of the second paragraph on the face of the policy, which is establishment of sufficient, reliable and sustainable supply of petroleum products in the country in line with existing safety protocols. It says that international regulators for depositors are not required to hold license to store their products at any jurisdiction in the country. However, international regulators / depositors shall comply with the existing petroleum products law and regulations, as well as the safety protocols and necessary rules and procedures applicable at the concerned terminals. I think this provision is clear. But the question there would be, why allow international traders to deposit fuel at the terminals when the OSCs were the ones doing that.
Well, I think, let us be, clear. I have told you that the data from the time that the scandal started up to now, almost all the product that is brought and sold in that you and I are using in this country is not brought by OMCs. It's not brought by OMCs.
Minister.
No, I'm coming, Honorable.
Okay.
The international traders are the ones that bring the product yesterday, today, in this country and deposit it at the terminal. The OMCs, as I have explained, the data from 2018 to date, 94% of the product that was brought at the terminal, based on data provided by the Petroleum, is brought and deposited by the traders. The 6% is brought by mainly GNPC at the time. So, and the volumes of product that is, and who has been bringing this fuel at the terminal is Trafigura. It is ADAX. It is PSTV. And recently, it is Apogee. As I've explained, if you go, because this is a sector, because the product that me and you will use and that we sell at the terminal, if you go to the GPS, the private terminal, which is exclusively owned by Council, the product was brought from the onset by Vitor, and then Apogee stored product at the terminal in GPS, as well as PSTV stored product at their terminal. And most recently, starting in January this year, there is a new player from based in Dubai called Dimex, who is supplying, who is bringing product and depositing at the GPS. OMCs don't bring product in this country. Predominantly is the international traders depositing at the terminals. The OMCs lift the product from the terminal.
You want to intervene? Okay. We will continue that line. I will just allow Chair.
Yes. Honorable Minister, if I heard you well, I think in the general submission, you did that international traders are not obliged, to distribute the fuel from the storage to terminals. Now, international traders can now take the fuel to terminal now. What I'm trying to add is that it's now clear to us that the oil community, the OMC, does not bring fuel, get it from international traders now. And now, I want to know the reason behind this policy. Before, they have license to bring fuel to terminal. If yes, because it's an establishment of sufficient reliability and sustainable supply of petroleum. From now on, the fuel traders domestics are not required to hold a license. I want to know whether before, do they hold a license to bring, or they don't need to have a license? And secondly, also, the international traders, they are on responsibilities to make availability of product in the depot, but they don't transport to the terminal. It wasn't their responsibility. That's what we said the first time. But now that they're now supplying to the terminal, I want some clarity on that area. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable, at no time in this country, since the start of the depot, has a international trader been licensed? The previous government, this government provide facility, safety. You have a home to just for them to come and stock their product. Because they are under no obligation. It's their free will. Because they have the product within the sub-region. And this is the same thing that happens in Senegal. It is the same thing that happens in Guinea. It's the same thing that happens in Sierra Leone and the neighboring country, Liberia. It is not because the local, the risk that is associated with the fluctuation of petroleum product, no, it's so high. But because the traders have the ability and the financial models and muscle and the capacity to move product, you understand? That's why they find the home for the product within the sub-region. There is an email that I can share with you from the trader explaining what happens in the trading. That is from PSTV. I can share the email with you. Because for us, before this point, we needed to understand what was happening in the market. In the past, nobody could understand because Gulf Petroleum prior was not licensed. So they were just doing anything that they want. When they were licensed, it was then the time for government to be able to regulate it in accordance with and set clear guidelines and policies. The other issue is, what I have explained is that product availability for this country and as defined by the president is a national security issue. Yes. And that the traders are allowed just before, as of now, to bring the product and store it at the terminal based on the storage agreement that they have with the terminal.
Okay.
I'm coming. No. I have to respond to him. No, I have to respond because he asked me a question. Now,
you will, because
that area.
Just a second. I will allow you to respond, but we recap that because it is leading to other questions that are not yet presented.
Well, I have to
yes, so what I'm saying is just summarize it, okay. Because if not, we'll come back to it again.
Okay.
Yes, but you can conclude on a summarized basis.
So what he said is that the international trader bring the fuel and deposit it at the terminal based on the storage agreement they have with the terminal. Now that's where they stop. And that's where they have always stopped. So now, from the terminal, who takes the product out of the terminal? It's those people that are licensed. OMCs. And the transaction between the OMC and the international trader here is their business relationship based on the price structure that the government has established as a CIF. And that price CIF is capped, that you cannot charge beyond that price. But the transaction between the OMCs and the trader, they can decide to charge less than that. But then when you take it out now, when you buy it in the tank, because remember the fuel is in the tank. The entire fuel that this trader brings is in the tank. But then what is called in-tank transfer, you buy from the trader, and then the trader issue a release order to the terminal to say that this quantity of fuel is now in the tank, belongs to an OMC. Then the OMC now, when they're lifting, is discounted based on the management of the terminal, correct? And then the product is now taken out of the terminal, going through customs for tax related issue.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Minister. We will still stick around that area. We have the understanding, and based on all these submissions we receive, we know that international traders do not require license to bring products into the Gambia. what we do also have, allow me to come in. You know, what we do also have and where we need answers to is, previously, the international traders will bring the product, but they never apply for ullage. Ullage application was done by the local OMCs. So the question we are asking here is, does this depositing of fuel by international traders includes, or does it equally give them the right now to do application for ullage as well?
Honorable, the issue of application for ullage before, based on the information that we have received at the time of developing this policy from the Petroleum, is that traders will sometimes use the ullage application made by the OMCs, and also they will sometimes directly apply themselves for ullage. That is the prerogative of the terminal. It is not a policy, it's not a guideline.
Minister,
Yes.
we can tell you in absolute terms,
Yes.
that ullage application by international traders before 2023 was done by the OMCs. Alex was working with Oryx. Oryx will do the application for ullage, because Oryx is the local OMC who have the license. Trafigura equally have their own partner OMC. The area we are looking into here is the application for ullage, because that is what gives you space in the depot. So that's why the question is, does this policy directive give direct access to the international traders without going through the OMCs for the application of ullage?
Honorable, my responsibility and the government's responsibility is to make sure that there was unrestricted and unhindered process for the traders to make product available at the country. And in this particular case, as before, as I have explained, based on data that is provided, is that even as of early part of 2023, you understand, and even 2022, traders were bringing product and storing at the terminal directly. It is not a prerequisite for Namilan, it's not a prerequisite and a requirement for OMCs to apply for ullage on something that they don't own.
You know, Honorable Minister, based on the submission of the permanent secretaries who are here, and the technical expertise who can conceptualize a technical expertise from the Minister of Petroleum, because we have submission from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs that Petroleum initially, before the establishment of the Minister of Petroleum and Energy, was under the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. Their earlier submission was that international traders never apply for ullage. In fact, they were surprised that the international traders were doing direct application for ullage and completing this limited space at the depots with the local OMCs. This was their point, that they can understand why would we allow international traders to compete with the local OMCs on the limited space that was available. So that's why we asking this question. And we just want to know what the policy is stating. We are asking the question based on the provisions of the policy, where it indicates that international fuel traders or depositors are not required to hold license to store their products at any storage terminal in the country. Yes. This was already cleared. We all know that the existing regulations did not bar international traders from bringing their license, their products. But what we are asking equally is, does this policy give them the right now to apply for ULH without having an ONC to partner?
No, Honorable, if you explain here and telling me that the OMCs and the traders were, jostling for space.
No, we don't say that. We are putting in front of you the submission.
No, submission of those people. Now,
the Minister of Finance and the Permanent Secretary who was at the Ministry of Petroleum.
The Permanent Secretary and the Ministry of Finance were talking about when did Petroleum become under the Ministry of Finance? When? The Petroleum was never under the Ministry of Finance. Petroleum, during the last regime, was run exclusively by EAGLE, which is the Euro-African Gambia Limited, owned by Mr. Bazi.
Let's clarify this. No, wait. We are not talking about that. We mean the regulation of the petroleum industry was under the portfolio of the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. Are you here? So this is.
What do they mean the regulation of the petroleum industry was under the Ministry of Finance?
Honourable Minister.
No, I'm just trying to
understand. When was the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy established?
I can understand that the Ministry of the Petroleum Sector, the Petroleum Products Act, which governs regulations, was in 2016.
Was in 2016?
Yes.
Do we have to be told by any other secondary source that before 2016, a substantive ministry was regulating the affairs of petroleum products in this country? Yeah. And it is their submission that the ministry that was responsible for the regulation of petroleum products in this country was the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. This is what they said.
No. In terms of what was the role of the Ministry of Finance was the regulation of the price. That's what finance was doing at the time, to regulate the price of petroleum product. At the time, the storage as well as quality and all these issues were not regulated by the Ministry of Finance.
Who was regulating it?
Because there did not exist any legal framework.
Yes.
That is the time.
I don't understand. We are still speaking the same language. Before the existence of the Ministry of Petroleum, finances indicate that the pricing structure was always determined by the Ministry of Finance. And as such, they were aware of the industrial standards that existed in your ministry. And that evidence was collaborated by Mr. Lamin Kamal. And that did not differ with the submission you are making now. I think the substantive question here is not what finance was doing and what the ministry is doing here. The substantive question is, does this policy give any opening to the international traders to have direct access to units at the storage terminals without having a local ONC to do the application on their behalf?
That's what I'm saying, is that the OMC before have come and deposited their product at the terminal without an OMC. And why would just allow me, Honorable,
yes,
since we're trying to understand and clarify, it's not an interrogation, it's a clarification. To understand the bigger picture. Because as a minister and as a government, my role is to provide, clarification and for the bigger picture. The reason I'll come to respond to that question, but the Petroleum Products Act, as you have indicated, finance was only responsible for pricing. There was no legal framework in terms of quality. And in terms of storage and any other regulatory framework. When the Petroleum Products Act came into being in 2016, it was ascended to by the former president on the 30th of December 2016. And then subsequent to which they started developing the regulations. At the time, before the regulations came, those people, the former management of Petroleum, products were brought by the international traders and deposited there without any OMC.
Do you have evidence to that?
It's there for at the depot.
The committee, the committee would be interested to have the evidence, the data that was given to you by the depot on which this policy was conceptualized. The reason that that data and that fact is based on the report of the task force for leading to the story. If you read the task force that the government set up, it was led by the Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration. It's there. You've made that submission to the committee.
Yes, it's there.
Yes, you can continue.
Okay, so it is this policy is just a continuation of what was already existing. So the idea that OMCs, the international, how can you force a trader to who has their product and say that the trader must partner with an OMC to bring a product in the country? I'm coming. So right now, this policy allowed to answer your question directly.
Thank you.
This policy allowed traders, just as before, to have access to the ullage in the facility.
The policy allows the international traders to have access to the storage terminals.
Yes.
Directly.
Yes.
And why was that a policy gap that needed clarification? If at all your submission is that it was already in existence, why did you need to clarify it? If at all it was already now, did you have any complaints from international traders that they were not having access to the depot?
This is, as I have explained, prior to the development of the policy, we received correspondence from PSTV, complaining about issues at the terminal, and at the time, Trafigura had already left the terminal.
Now the question is, you said that international traders were having access to ullage at the depot.
That's what the
Yes, now the question is, if that is what was existing, why did the ministry see the need to do the clarification on the policy document?
Yeah, because it was to be documented, because the policy was just to document what already exists. It's not a clarification, it's to document what exists, to remove ambiguity.
So which means you didn't receive any complaint from international traders with regards to having access to ullage. I'm not talking about the ownership. Ownership of the product and availability or granting of space are different.
Honorable, we're not talking about ullage application.
No,
that's not the issue.
I am talking about the ullage.
You are bringing ullage.
No.
Ullage application and issues is not an issue that this thing is dealing with.
No, Honorable Minister.
Yes.
Then we are talking at different wavelengths.
Yes.
The questions are based on the ullage application. The unit is what we are centering on right now.
Okay.
Not the ownership of the products.
Okay.
So, can we have clarification on that? And that will suffice. Did your ministry receive any complaint from international traders with regards to having knowledge at the terminals?
This policy, okay, clarifies for the international traders that they have access and they don't need a license to bring their product and deposit it at the terminal.
Yeah, but prior to that, the question is, we want to substantiate the need for it. And part of it would be in establishing the gap. Since you said it was an established norm, so the need to do the clarification is what we are asking for. And part of the questions to that is, did you receive any formal complaint from any international trader telling you that even though the norm is we should have access to the storage facilities, but we are not having it? Did your minister receive any complaint from the international traders to that end?
Yeah, as I have explained, that on the 24th of March, the PSTV complained about alleged storage, shortage of storage in Petroleum. That if this report, if this report is true, we could end up in a scenario where traders would have no other choice than to stop all dealings with Petroleum.
Can you take that again?
I'm saying that on the 24th of March, received the email from
March which year?
2023.
Okay.
From PSTV, explaining that there were alleged shortage in Petroleum, and if this report is true, as a trader, we would end up in a scenario where traders would have no other choice than to stop all dealings with Petroleum, including HFO to the Gambia. And also, Trafigura visited the country in my office and raised concern about, the reporting and usage issues at the terminal.
Yes, but on the face of the email that is received from, was it PSTV?
PSTV, that was for PSTV.
From PSTV. Mm-hmm. Those are with regards to stages at the terminal, but not specifically on the issue of ownership. We will come to that.
Yes.
But the point of contention here is having access to the storage first.
Yeah, as I just explained, Trafigura, after the product was stolen at the depot, left and they came, visited the ministry to re-establish relationship with Petroleum.
When did they visit?
This was sometime in 2023.
At the beginning of 2023?
Yes, around that, before the establishment of this policy. And they raised concern about reporting and usage at the terminal.
What was their concern about the usage?
For availability of usage in the terminal, and also to make sure that reporting requirements to know who owns the product at the terminal,
Did they give you any evidence with regards to applications that they've made and were declined or were rejected?
No, I don't. They came to pay a courtesy call and raise this concern.
Yes, because the evidence we have before this committee is that before 2023, all usage applications were done by the ONCs. This does not probe into the ownership of the products. The international traders do not require that, but they have to work with a local ONC to store in their products. And that is why, Honorable Minister, it will be of interest to this committee if you can provide us evidence that will prove on the contrary, to indicate to the committee that indeed international traders were applying for ULH, and ULH approvals were granted to them before 2023.
Honorable, the report of the task force, the government task force, is clear that the product before 2021 even, the product that were stored at the Gulf Petroleum was brought by the traders, and that they did not require and did not apply for ULH through, or the OMCs did not apply for ULH for those traders to bring the product.
Fair enough. We will go through that, yes. But no evidence on the contrary to what was initially submitted by the technical personnel, both at the Ministry of Petroleum and the Ministry of Finance have been submitted. Yes, go check, because I'm wrapping up in 10 minutes. Yeah. Just make that one quick.
Okay, thank you very much. Co-chair. I'm looking at the policy document vis-a-vis the problem we're trying to solve here, because every policy should really align towards solving the problem. That is why I want us to look at clause 2 of the policy document. It was very clear that that what triggered this policy is a result of the MC coming together to gang up to create a scarcity in fuel, and that policy document has now given the reserve right for the international traders now to have an access to the ULH facility in the depot. I want to ask the minister, because what really triggered this thing is to address the lacuna or the limitations in terms of having, enough fuel supply in the country. And this policy must look toward addressing the shortage of fuel, which is security issues in the country. So now we understand that if the OMC, when they apply, they will definitely pay some fees, which is the source of fund for the petroleum. And also similarly, the international trader also, if they should apply for ULH now, they will also need to pay. So this policy hasn't really addressed the fear or the concerns of lack of fuel availability in the depot since it has come into force, because we want to see that policy must be addressing concerns. And in the application, the practice has been that the OMC are the one applying for storage facility, that's ULH. Now the policy has given the right for international traders now to also apply to deposit fuel directly to the terminals now. Has this thing addressed the concerns?
Honorable, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Certainly, since the policy came into being, there has been a consistent and persistent supply of petroleum product in this country without any shortage. I have to clarify what you just said. OMCs, the petroleum, the international trader, does not pay to store the product at the terminal. When you apply for ULH, you do not pay. Okay. The OMC, when they apply for ULH, they don't pay. Oh. Let me clarify that. What happens is this. The person that is taking the fuel out of the terminal, he pays the depot what is called in the pricing structure, throughput. And this throughput, the throughput is paid by the person that is taking the fuel from the depot to the depot. It's not the trader. The trader, Honorable, I'm coming, does not pay anything to the depot. It is just facilitating for the country to have a product, because they have the product and they find a home for the product. So the OMCs buy the product, the OMCs don't bring the product. And the issue that the OMCs, they're the ones that apply for ULAGE. That is what brought us that problem.
Hello, Minister. Are you confirming that it was only the OMCs that used to apply?
Who? No, I didn't confirm anything. I'm already honorable. You know, all of us are honorable. You know, I have told you and I have responded very clearly that read the report that was prepared by the task force chaired by the then Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, chaired by the, commissioned by the President to look into the shortage that happened in 2021 October. So I'm not confirming anything.
Madam Minister, no, just in 15 minutes I'm closing. No, I'm okay, come, go ahead.
What I want to clarify is, the statement that from the depot, from the depot to another depot, is it from the depot to the station or from which depot to which depot? Because you mean that the depot to which depot? So is it depot to the station or which depot to which depot?
For the station, from the village center, the storage center.
From a depot to a depot.
That's where the fuel is coming.
No, what happens, honorable, is this.
Yes, yes.
The depot is just like a warehouse. It's just to store. Anybody who has product can bring it and store. And then you then buy it from the person that brought the fuel and store it there. It's like I bring a ton, I bring a sip of rice at the port. And then, you know, people buy from me at the ports and then sell it to the government. And the same thing is what is happening at the depot as well. The trader brings the limit, the depot, because the fuel that is coming, DRA, when the fuel is entering the tank, DRA has no business. Pura has no business. It's entirely between the storage facility and the trader, or whoever owns the fuel. Now, when they enter the tank, Pura must make sure that the quality is consistent with the standards of the country. In the first instance, the depot must make sure that the quality certificate issued by SGS is consistent with the standard of the country before they even deposit. Because if they deposit the fuel in the tank as a bonded warehouse and it's not the right thing and spoil it, they are liable to the supplier or the owner of the product, and whoever owns the product. Now, then Pura comes to check the quality because they must submit the quality certificate. After that, the importer now, or the person that is exporting it out of the country, now deals with the trader. Now, before he goes out of the terminal, that is when GRA will tell you, authorize the amount of fuel that leaves the terminal is authorized by GRA because they have a station in the two depots. And nobody is supposed to take fuel from the terminal without GRA authorization.
Yes, I will listen. Just point of clarification. You said international traders do not pay for storage. They pay based on throughput charges.
No, I didn't say that.
What do they do?
international traders that bring fuel and store at the depot pay nothing.
They pay nothing.
They pay nothing. That has been clarified by the Minister of Finance.
But is that on indefinite terms? Because we have submissions here from Castro
To say what?
that they do release their tanks and that they had problem with Apoji and Apoji left when Apoji wanted to take their entire storage facility.
Mr. Honorable, if that's what Kasul is saying, tell Kasul that why is it that when they started for almost 1 year, Vitol was the exclusive supplier of fuel to their terminal. If that is what they are telling you, ask them.
No, we are asking you.
No, I'm
just, if I don't ask the question, you will know the response.
Sorry.
What we are asking you is to tell us what is obtained. Then from there we will know what to ask Kasul. Is it your submission that international, like that one, the storage terminals should not lease their tanks? Because they said that here.
Honorable, what government regulates is the throughput.
Okay.
Is the price of is the throughput, which is $30 per metric ton.
Okay.
And that is in the pricing formula published by the government every month.
Okay.
Now, the relationship between the international trader and the depot in terms of their storage agreement is something that is between them.
Thank you.
Now, I am just saying that if Kasul came here and said that because Apodi wanted exclusivity and they refused, they got, I am telling you that, tell Kasul that why is it that when they started their operation, up to in early part 2023, it was exclusively Vitol that was supplying fuel in the tank and nobody else.
Yes. In this instance, as a committee, we will bring it to your attention that since you stated the relationship that exists between the international traders and the depots, it's exclusively a customer and a client relationship where the government doesn't put it. So we bring it to your attention that the depots do lease their tanks to the international traders. And if at all there is a regulatory gap, we will advise the relevant ministry. But we have submissions to that effect.
Honorable, that is, as I said, if that is the case, and that is the advice that you would want to give, what happens between the trader and the depot in terms of leasing? There is always a storage agreement.
Good.
And that storage agreement is between the trader and the owner of the storage terminal. Now, what government regulates is that the amount of fuel that passes through as a throughput.
Good.
That throughput is paid by the person that lifts the fuel, because that is part of the pricing structure.
Good. Honourable Speaker, on a last point, on a final point now, we look at your policy communication that came on the 30th of October 2023. And on that particular one, our interest will be on the third and fourth paragraphs. Or we can consolidate all on the fifth paragraph, where it reads, it is also important to understand that international traders or ONCs and depositors of petroleum product at the storage depot facilitates the availability of the product to licensed operators in the country to have access to the product. In this regard, the product owner with stock at the depot can choose to instruct a buyer to pay an invoice into a foreign bank account as per the agreed commercial terms. Effectively, payment in Gambian dollars, however, remains the preferred option. Honorable Speaker, sorry. Now, that's another level, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we had a submission from a technical staff who was working under you during the time this policy statement was out, and sealed without any ambiguity indicate before this committee that this particular provision should not be a policy provision, as it is strictly a relationship between a customer and a buyer. To that, we will ask the question: what gap was your ministry trying to address with clause 5 of the policy document?
So, can I ask with staff of the ministry?
No, that is an information
Okay.
for the committee. But I will say this because these are public hearings.
Okay.
That was your permanent secretary, Safi Sise. Safi. I mean, I will have the full name and portfolio before that.
Okay.
Yes, Honorable.
You know, the role of the government, as I've explained, and the ministry, is to provide clarity and avoid problems and shortage. Now, the international trader, okay, can bring the product. It is their prerogative to charge anybody in whatever currency, because at the free zone, the trader does not need to bring product in this country. As an OMC or even GNPC that buy product from a trader which is not operating in this country, called Sahara, GNPC has to pay, open an LC before the product comes into this country. And it is paid in US dollars or euros as determined by the trader. If you look at the pricing structure of the government, CIF is quoted in US dollars. So it is in that context, all right, that this provision was made. Every month, the CIF element, the pricing structure has 3 levels. The first level, which is CIF, is quoted in US dollars. Now, if a trader comes in this country, bring their product, buy it in US dollars or in euro, and store it at the depot, and relieve those people that do not have the financial muscles as provided by data to bring the product and deposit it, and they then tell the person that, oh, you have to pay me in US dollars or you pay me in dollars into an account. That is the prerogative of the trader. So in this case, this foreign currency and in dollars is as per the pricing structure and what the government wants to do to facilitate. Let me give you, if you allow me, an example. Honorable.
I just want us to clear this part.
Okay.
You've clearly stated that the cost insurance and fee is the, CIF component is a what? Foreign currency.
It's in US
and is in USD. And then it is at the prerogative of what? The seller to tell which currency you are going to pay
yes.
or her.
Yes.
And that's exactly why we are questioning the need to have this at the face of a policy when it is obvious.
Yeah, but Honorable, you know, what's the problem with providing, you know, I mean, as the French say, pedagogy. You know, if you have to repeat something 1,000 times, you know, for better understanding, what's the problem?
No, the concept is government policies or regulations or laws are supposed to serve as a deterrent.
Deterrent of what?
Thank you very much. They must solve something. What is this solving if there is no problem? If there isn't a problem, then why are we bringing the solution?
No, but Honorable, I have explained to you here, I've explained to you that further through emails
Yes.
and letters that we sent to the international traders relating to the trader premium.
Yes.
Because the OMCs were claiming that the trader premium should not be touched.
Okay. And the trader premium was in dollars on foreign currency?
No, the trader premium, go and look just wait. Hold on, just. The pricing structure, which I'm pretty sure maybe you might already have, is in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because the price of fuel is quoted using the Platt reference.
Yes.
Plus a premium. And that premium is determined by the government, not by the trader.
Trader, true.
Not by the OMC.
Mm-hmm.
And that we had this issue, as I have explained, in the course of 2022, under the chairmanship of the former Vice President, may his soul rest in peace, where the traders were claiming that the government should not touch the trader premium.
Yes.
And we had several meetings with the Minister of Finance on this issue. At what time the Minister of Finance reduced the trader premium, which affected the traders, but the OMCs decided to write to the government and threaten to strike. Now, when we then we called a meeting with the international traders sometime around the mid of 2023. Following those meetings, it was necessary to be able to provide this written clarification. Following that meeting, all right, that we had with the with the international traders, because not all the international traders, when they were invited, even when came to participate, it was only PSTV that participated in the meeting. All right? They have a choice to take their product in another country. They are not obliged to bring it here. And I think we need to understand that. So this is basically just buttressing the point and providing something that is, as the minister responsible for sector, to provide that clarity. The clarity in terms of the layer. Yes, it's just put layer midi. So whatever layer in everybody's mind. That is what it is.
Okay, that was Amin Jaijo, the former permanent secretary. Amin Jaijo, right?
Yes.
Okay, in the same context, I will refer you to the last paragraph, where it states that, nonetheless, considering that the Gambia remains an importer of refined petroleum products sourced from international markets, we are cognizant that the funds must be repatriated to the seller's foreign bank account to enable them continue to procure the petroleum products in order to secure the availability of products at the border for licensed operations. This remains critical to ensure business continuity for the Gambian markets and for the export to neighboring countries. Again, when asked the question whether this is a policy issue, an operational issue? The answer was, this is basically part of an agreement that should be between two business entities, a buyer and a seller, and purely operational issues. So, as the minister, can you really enlighten us with regards to the policy gaps this particular last paragraph also intended to remedy?
Honorable, people can have different lens and analyze things differently. For us, we provide visibility and clarity in the sector. That's my responsibility. And in this particular case, where I provided the overarching clarity, because if you do not, if somebody brings a product and then you pay for it, and we encourage the trader to sell the product to the operators in dollars, not in foreign currency. Obviously, that trader needs to be able to repatriate his funds. How he does it is not for me. But
Yes,
he is.
Honorable Minister, that's the bone of contention.
In
That
terms
is
of
obvious that the traders need their funds where they can source the petroleum products again and come and sell.
Yes.
That is obvious. Now the question is, why would a policy capture that?
No, but why not? Let me get it back. Why not?
Why not?
Yes.
Because already we haven't received any submission that a problem have persisted.
Oh, do you
No, the main reason I'm going this extra mile to answer your question is to provide guidance. I should have been asking question. But if you see me accepting the question, it's because I wanted guidance and you want to know the truth. This is a government policy. Why not to the policy is, no probable reason have been advanced to this committee to justify the need for clarity. Everything expressed in that particular paragraph is a normal agreement between two business associates. Even in the local tanganas we will walk into, the person buying would pay and the seller will receive the money, and the seller will obviously want the money to be where he can have access to it to replenish his stock. That is the normal goal or the normal number plate in any business environment. The simple unit of identity of a business relationship. So if it comes on the face of the government policy and the permanent secretary who was there at that particular time tells the committee that she doesn't know the mind of the minister as at that time, because the only responsibility she played was she received an email to edit and send back. As such, she cannot see the rationale behind that provision. But based on a professional based on her professional expertise, she can tell that it should not have been part of the policy. Now, as the minister, the substantive portfolio holder as at that time, the committee is giving you the opportunity to tell us the rationale behind this provision, other than what we know.
Well, Honorable, thank you very much for your response, for your question. As a policy maker responsible for this sector, this is not a Tangana issue. This is a petroleum and a very sensitive sector. And as I have explained in the first paragraph, energy security is national security. It's a national security matter. and cannot be left with ambiguity. And I provided this clarity for everybody, for all traders. For all traders, the GP, and all stakeholders that are in the value chain, to have clarity, to know that they can do what they have to do in accordance with the law. There is providing more visibility and more clarity. Now, and the view that, man, I am not one person who will wait. I will assume my responsibility. And I did, and I have assumed and will assume my responsibility to the maximum, that I do not have to wait for a problem to happen before I provide clarity. And with all due respect, Honorable Minister, sorry, Honorable Member.
Thank you. I will take that. I am as Honorable Speaker, so we will take that exchange.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
With all due respect to Aminjai.
No, what we do is, let's just...
No, allow me.
Let me come.
I will give you, I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, but okay. Please allow me, because you just explained to me.
I just want to give you guidance, please, Honorable Minister. If you would permit me, we do not have power over how you will do this submission. But what we need from you is clarity and justification of this provision, and that will suffice.
But I have already done that.
Then proceed.
Yeah, but you've already given me what you've said in your statement, that based on her professional expertise. That's what you said. If Aminjai, because I'm going to put this on record, came here and said that I gave her this thing to edit.
You sent it to her through email?
Through email to edit. As the so-called professional expertise that she has, if I submit something to you as a permanent secretary, and you believe that a provision is not in line with what is expected, it is a responsibility to edit it and advise me. Number one. And these policies was copied to the Minister of Finance, all the policies, copied to the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Minister of Interior, the Office, Chief of Staff Office of the President, Secretary General, and also the Permanent Secretary Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, Permanent Secretary Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of the Governor, Governor of the Central Bank, the Commissioner General, and the Director General of PURA. If we are one, if we are all one government, and that I, as the minister, come up with a policy that any one of them, including the permanent secretary, felt that that provision should not be there, at any time is she rectified? Number one. Number two,
can I?
Saying, no, let me learn.
No, you touch an important point.
Let me just learn, and then because I
want to compare that before you go to number
I lose my thought.
Okay, come to number two.
But finally, with all due respect, all of Ndiaye dafa wax ne nit koo xam ne butam dafa leer nañ soxlawul jaacaar ku ko woon yoon. Thank you.
Can we have that in English? I know what it means. He's saying, in one of what he's trying to say is, what the author says, one whose eyes are very clear doesn't need someone to lead. But this is
the partially blind.
Yes.
Cannot.
So now the custodian of the saying is coming. Can you bring it up? Can you pass it in English?
Or the blind, it's a proverb. The blind or the partially blind cannot lead on or advise the sighted.
Can you put that in context for us? Let's really understand. Can I have it? Sorry. Can you put that in context for us? We need to, the community needs to understand whose eye is there, who is partially blind. No, we need to. This is a committee. We should not assume. If we must put it into evidence, we need to know who is partially blind so that we can understand the submission of the minister.
Honorable, it's a proverb. A proverb is for someone to decipher. And you can, I'm just giving a proverb. And the thing is, you see the knowledge. No, you talked about the PS.
You want to be fair to your colleagues.
Okay.
You don't want you to leave and we start assuming.
Okay, but you made reference to Aminjai. What he said? Okay. No, Aminjai. That's what you said, and I made a proverb. Okay, and that proverb I think speaks volume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But this is a committee.
Let me put it again in simple terms.
Please.
Okay. Somebody that can advise you is somebody that knows the sector, that understands the sector, and also knows the law or the provisions.
Are you telling this committee that Aminjai was not qualified enough to advise you as your peers, right?
I have made my point very clear, Honorable, that the partially blind cannot lead and advise the sighted.
No, Honorable Minister, this is governance.
Yes.
You need to understand. The James Committee at the end of the day will make recommendations. Yes. Yes. So we need to know. If it was in question, it's not qualified enough. Advice, you ask the minister. You need to know.
Honorable, I think you can call Aminjai and then do an assessment of Aminjai.
No. Aminjai was here. He was here. And the committee had an engagement with her. She made her submission. And every line of submission, she was examined. But this is your submission to the minister. And I would repeat it again. The committee doesn't want to make any assumption. We don't assume. We want to be fair to you and your submissions.
Honorable,
Is it your submission that Aminjai was qualified?
I don't determine. I
Based
don't.
on your proverb, she is the partially blind.
I am not.
Then she cannot lead you. That was what you said.
I've just said that the partially blind cannot lead somebody who got a millionaire night.
That is it. And I mean, no, wait. Let me just try this. Aminjai, based on your submission, is partially blind. When you put that to context, it means she doesn't have the right qualifications. You need that confirmation. So
No, but I'm not saying I will not go to the qualification and other things. I'm talking about the knowledge of the sector. That's what I'm saying. The knowledge of the sector and the dynamics of the sector.
you know that better than her. Can you put it that way?
Honorable, come on.
No, we need to have something we can.
Honorable, I mean, let me tell you, let me tell you my level of understanding. Honorable, my level of understanding of the issues and the extra mile that I went to understand this sector and what is happening in this sector is superior to Aminjai and even the people that were there before Aminjai.
This is what we
okay?
And on the health issue you raised, that is when you said Aminjai received the email from you and she should have advised if at all she had any issues with the policy. Yes, she was asked that question.
Your mic.
Can I underline? She was asked the question. We asked her the question as the expert advisor to the minister. Your responsibility should not have only stopped at editing and returning back the document. But what he indicated was the process of policy formulation and conceptualization. And at this level, her advice was not solicited and based on that decision to write. So on specific terms, what he told us before the committee was she was only asked to edit. And normally, it is the office of the PS who will prepare a cabinet paper. And she couldn't remember any cabinet paper prepared for this policy. And her advice on the policy document was never asked. So that brings the question to mind. When you said there was a stakeholder consultation on this particular policy, and in the stakeholder consultation, the PS and the technical staff should have been included. Was PPS and media part of the consultation during this policy formulation?
Honorable, I've explained myself and I will come back very clear. I said that there has been several meetings, okay, and several email correspondence that Amijai, with the traders, the director of Petroleum, Amijai would be copied, okay? And all of these things is what then led to the policy. And I think if Amijai...
Was there any meeting conducted with all the stakeholders?
What do you mean, all the stakeholders? Honorable, policy formulation, it is not the responsibility of the permanent secretary. Whoever tells you that, the permanent secretary, there is a policy formulation process. This thing was just defining the limits, to define the limits for depositing, monitoring, etc. And this is something which is already existing to provide more clarity. So if Amijai said that the process for formulation of policy, and that he was only asked to edit, this thing referred to policy number 1, which was superseded in September 2023. Which he had, the access to, and since the policy which started on the 3rd of July, the document was submitted to Amijai, and all the draft that was prepared was shared with Amijai and all the technical staff at the ministry. None of them commented. You understand? I have a responsibility. I'm coming.
What is the responsibility of permanent secretary?
Especially a permanent secretary. I'm not a, permanent secretary. They run the ministry. They run the ministry. They don't provide. They don't develop policy. And also the other issue that I want to make clear. Let me make this thing clear. Is that the notion that Amijai said that she did not prepare a cabinet paper, not everything that goes to cabinet and approved by cabinet is not through a cabinet paper. Sorry. Excuse me.
I told you.
No, so.
Okay. We will take that.
Okay. My apologies. Okay. All right, sorry.
Okay.
I'll be patient and.
Permanent secretaries have a responsibility. Correct me if I'm wrong. They are the principal advisors to the business.
Supposed to be.
Minister? The law explicits over and above all announcements. As when we our state ministers, permanent secretaries, judges, all the three arms of the government, they don't exist. Never.
Agreed.
Permanent secretaries have a role
Yeah, but Honorable, the advice, the minister does not have to depend on what the permanent secretary says or advise. Okay, yes. The administrative, the institutional arrangement, the permanent secretary is there to run the ministry, okay, and provide advice to the minister. To the minister. Yes, if so desired.
You see, national desires do not come into governance. They do not come into governance. No. Let's just get this straight. National desires do not come into governance. Okay? Now, policy formulation is a technical process. Not so. Policy formulation is a technical process. Policy formulation is a technical process. Is it the norm? Is it the norm that policies will first be discussed at technical level in the ministry in consultation with the permanent secretary and the stakeholders? Is that the norm?
Yeah, but it depends, Honorable. It depends what the policy is. If it is a substantive policy, then that is the process. That is, I will agree with you 100% that substantive policy, that is the process. Yes, I agree with you entirely. But this policy is clarifying what already existed at the market level. So the distinction, there must be distinction between the normal process to develop substantive policies against this policy to provide clarity and clarification and visibility.
Finally on that, how do you come to know the norms to the industry without having technical advice?
No.
From your principal advice?
No, Honorable. The issue is these correspondence between the traders and the OMCs and the permanent secretary. In my ministry, I set up a policy to be copied in all emails.
Okay.
And correspondence. And I see the mail folder. I see the mail folder and deal with issues. Instead of me, the permanent secretary, advising me when I see a mail folder, I'm the one that directs the permanent secretary as to look into something.
Finally, Minister, you know.
Yes, on paper. On paper, based on the submission from Petroleum and GPS, that they stored product at Petroleum and stored product at GPS.
They stored product both at Petroleum and
at GPS, yes.
During your tenure as the Minister of Petroleum, was there any point at the time that local OMCs were complaining about Apuli monopolizing or taking total control of Petroleum?
They wrote a letter, and it was I think it was forwarded by the ministry to Pura to look into. No, this one is this one? No, it's not. Yeah, I can hear.
You said they wrote a letter?
Yes, the OMC wrote a letter, and then to the ministry, and I directed Pura. I directed the ministry to forward it to Pura to look into it.
Did you have any outcome? What was the outcome of their complaint?
And they wrote to Petroleum at the time, and Petroleum refuted the claims of Pura. I think there is correspondence. If you go to the ministry, you might find correspondence both from the OMCs to to the ministry, and the ministry to Pura, and also from Pura to Petroleum, and Petroleum in response to Pura.
The daily reports you were receiving, Petroleum, were supposed to indicate to you the availability of petroleum products and honesty, right? Did you realize that starting from May, June of 2023, Apodi was having access to information about petroleum based on the daily reports in the USF?
No, but I know that the Apogee, based on the daily report, had product in Petroleum.
They had products?
Yes.
And that started in June of 2023.
That is the, if I see the reports again, I will be able to. That is entirely the Gum Petroleum and Apogee. That I have nothing to do with that, and I don't know nothing about it.
Yes, we are bringing you notice that Apogee started having access to units and Gum Petroleum from May of 2023. And started storing from May to and that's in our way part of the report
Yeah. So what's the point?
The point here is, as at that time, there was no policy or guideline that the access needed.
I don't agree. You have to ask the depot would, on this report, the report will show that for you, but you have to also ask maybe the depot how Apogee came to deal with them at the depot, just like any other trader. That is something that they know.
The depot is relying on the policy that was issued by the ministry, and that policy only applied to one perspective.
You said me.
Cannot.
Okay.
That policy cannot be applied to that perspective. Even if it the first communication which was from
Yes.
that will happen after
Apogee being granted approval in May, June of 2023.
Just like all the other traders that were depositing products.
No, we are being specific here. So the question that arises is, why would Apogee would deposit without a formal guideline?
What do you mean without a formal guideline? The guideline of depositing is not something that is produced by the ministry, or it's entirely between Apogee and the terminal. That's not up to me.
But I don't know, maybe you didn't get me correct. What I'm saying is, the depot is relying on the policy. The policy that was initially formulated 14th of July or 13th of July, later 14th of September, and finally 13th of October. That was the principal instrument the depot was relying on. And if they should rely on that policy document,
the depot,
yes,
just before the arrival of the current general manager, okay, have always had, as indicated in the report of the task force, stored product at the terminal without a unit through OMC.
perfect.
I have explained to you that the purpose of providing a policy is to prevent a problem for the government, to make sure that there was availability of product. We issued issued a policy for clarity, to ensure availability of product. Now, how it is interpreted by the terminal also, the policy is here. It's clear. It is meant for all international traders to be able to bring product and store it there for the interest of the country.
Minister, we understand that perfectly well. That you wanted availability of petroleum products into the country, which was a clear and genuine intent. And the policy came out to address any issues of what? Ambiguity. Again. But what we've also been able to establish is, before the policy, the international traders were not having direct access to ullage. But there was an exception of one, that is Apollo, who had access to ullage from May going forward.
Honorable Dictator, if you go to Petroleum, the data that Petroleum provided, PSTV, and this was not specific to Petroleum. This policy, and that's why when you want to tie it down to Petroleum alone, I don't think that would give a general perspective. This was not specific to GP. It was for the both terminals. And then if you go to GPS, products were stored at that terminal by the OMCs, by the international traders directly to make product available in this country. Okay. So the issue of just specifying that Gulf Petroleum, I mean, this is not specific to Gulf Petroleum. This policy is addressed to both Gulf Petroleum and GPS and traders. So, so the issue is, in Gulf Petroleum, there are, based on the data provided at the time by the Gulf Petroleum, there are times that traders will come and deposit directly. There are times that the OMCs will then apply ullage and then use that for traders at the disadvantage of the country. And that is something that we as a government, after having discussed this thing, and with the principle, it was not going to be tolerated because it caused a shortage of wealth in this country.
Exactly the point. The question is, why didn't the policy come before its actual implementation? There's no problem with the policy. But what we've established is, a player on the field was having the rights, full rights and privileges, as well as later provided by the policy document.
Yeah, but that's only one aspect. You are just looking at it from one aspect. No, but this was not applied to the trader. Where does this policy, or where is it indicated? Where is the insinuation that it was because of a particular trader? Where?
Yes, Honorable Minister. Let's go to the policy document. Yes, you do have the policy document. If you look at the third paragraph of the policy document.
Which one?
Any of them, if you want, you can. Let's go to the one for the 3rd of July.
Okay.
Let's go to the one for the 3rd of July.
Okay.
Look at paragraph 2. Establishment of sufficient, reliable, and sustainable supply of petroleum products in the Gambia in line with existing safety protocols. It states, international fuel traders / depositors are not required to hold a license to store their products at any storage terminal in the country. So, the evidence we have in the country was international traders would have required a licensed OMC to have access to the unit. That is it. And for all indications, paragraph 2 of this policy would have taken that out for good reasons. But the issue here is, before the 3rd of July, there is evidence that a particular trader was benefiting from his privileges already.
But it's not, Honorable, you are entitled, as I said, you are entitled to your views.
No, these are not views.
No, you are saying, no, views in terms of they will benefit, a particular trader was benefiting from a privilege. That's what I'm trying to address.
Honorable Minister, we have evidence of unit application by Apodi. Their first application was dated 8th of May 2023. We have evidence of approval. We have evidence of their storage at the depot. These are established facts.
Okay.
Which were even provided by Petroleum. So, as it is, the spirit of the policy is in an upright position. But the question we are asking is, why was this particular international trader allowed to have that access prior to coming into force of the policy?
Well, that is something that you have to. I didn't bring the international trader. I don't bring international traders in this country. International traders are at liberty to operate at the free zone. How they cooperate and partner with the terminal is outside my purview. That is what I have to say.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Co-Chair, at this point I will hand over to you for members to come with. Yes, come back, yes.
Thank you very much, Honourable Co-Chair. I think at this point we can go and break, have lunch and pray and come back again. It's better. So the question still for just 30 minutes because we don't have time. For just 30 minutes. Yeah, it's currently it's 3:15. It's okay. 3:15. We come back. If we have any, come back. Thank you.
Did we move a Muslim or we want to leave the traditional way? Exactly. You will tell us that. I'm not trying to
It's okay, I'll